once there lived an old man named Karim. He was not rich, he was not respected much either. People mostly laughed at him because of animals he owned. A grey donkey named Sultan. Sultan was famous in village not because he was strong, not because he carried heavy loads, because he was completely insane. The donkey kicked walls for another reason. He screamed at midnight. He chased chickens like they owned his money. One day, he even ran directly into the village 14 and stood there for 3 hours, starting at his own reflection like his was killing. Children would yell, "The crazy donkey is coming." Spokesperson is their vegetable. Whenever Sultan appeared, and somehow every single time Chow's apparent Karim was nearby, looking exhausted, but Karim never beat him, never abandoned him, never sold him. That confused people. Why keep these useless animals? They asked. Karim only smiled and said because he stayed when nobody else did. Nobody understood what he meant. Years earlier, Karim and a family, a wife, 2 sons, a small farm. Life was hard, but it's enough. Then came the flood. The river near the village overflowed during a violent storm. Water stormed through homes. In the middle of the night, people ran screaming into the darkness. Karim lost almost everything. His farm disappeared. His old son moved away to the city and never returned. His wife became sick after and died within the years. In the middle of all destruction, there was only one thing left, shading near the broken remains of his house. A skinny, terrified donkey tied to the street. At times, Sultan was not crazy yet, just stubborn, and the ugly Karim imitated and him and sat beside him in the mud until sunrise from their day on the donkey followed him everywhere. Years passed. Loneliness changed people. Sometimes it changed animals too. Karim talked to Sultan constantly at the market, on the road, at night while starting at the stars. People thought had lost his mind. Maybe he had, but Sultan listened. The donkey because wild over time because Karim treated him less like an animal and more friend like a friend. He fed him before feeding himself, shared food with him, covered him with the blanket during winter. The villagers laughed harder every year. One afternoon, a group of strangers tying fans of the Sultan tail is a joke. The donkey pinked and ran through the market, destroying baskets, knocking over a bread stand, and kicking a cart into a wall. Everything screamed, killing the dead donkey, but Karim stood in front of Sultan while people threw rocks. The donkey shoved behind him like a frightened child. That moment changed a few minds. People started noticing something strange. Sultan only became violent when Karim was threatened. If someone shouted at the old man, the donkey charged. If Karim failed, Sultan screamed until somebody helped him. Once Karim fainted in a summer heat outside the mosque. Before anyone noticed, Sultan started praying so loudly the entire street came running. The donkey refused to move from Karim's side. That was the first time the village saw the animals differently, not crazy, loyal. Still, Sultan remained impossible to control. He stole, belongs, pet rare crops, destroy fancy. Once morning, he somehow climbed onto a rooftop. Nobody ever figured out how years later Karim became every week. He prayed, turned while his hand shook when he walked. But Sultan morning, Sultan waiting outside his door every morning until one winter day the door never opened. Neighbors become worried when they entered the house. Karim was gone, but peacefully, just blanket, silence, and cold morning night. Outside the house stood Sultan, completely still, no screaming, no chows, no kicking, just waiting. The villagers tried pulling him away, but he refused to move. For 3 days, the donkey remained outside the house. People brought him food. He barely ate. Then sometimes heartbreaking happened. Every morning after Karim burial, Sultan walked alone through the exact road on the old man used to take to the market, to the wall, past the broken road, then back home, like they still expected his honor beside him. The same villagers who once mocked the donkey now watched in silence. Children stopped throwing stones. Shopkeeper gave him food. Old men shook their heads sadly when he passed. One evening, the village baker whispered maybe he was never crazy. Years later, people still told stories about Sultan, about the donkey who kicked wild screamed at the moon for chickens and the climbed roof. But they also remember something else. A lonely old man survived grief because one stubborn animals refused to leave him. And maybe that's why people love donkey memes and stories online so much. Beneath the chows and this stupidly, there's usually loyalty, sadness, and friendship hidden underneath. Even modern viral donkey stories often go viral because of emotions bonds between donkey owners. After Karim died, winter became strangely quiet. Too quiet, people realized something uncomfortable. The village had gotten used to hearing Sultan scream every morning. They had gotten used to the sound of the hooves hitting stones, vegetables being stolen, and random chows exploding somewhere near the market. Without Karim, the donkey wandered like a ghost. Yet the villagers tried taking care of together. The ba- baker left old bread. Children brought carrots. The bunchers secretly throws scraps into a bucket, even though the pretend to had the animals, but Sultan accepted food from almost nobody. He trusted only one person, and that person was gone. Weekly passed, the donkey grew thinner, his throat, his paw became dirty and rough. He stopped puffing trouble completely, with someone made everything sadder. One night a storm rolled into the village, cold rain, violent wind, thunder shaking a window. During storm, Sultan used to hide beside Karib's house because the old man would sit with him and talk until the thunder passed. But now the house was empty. Around midnight, villagers heard dis- desperate screaming outside, not women screaming, Sultan again and again, louder than anyone had ever heard before. A young boy named Hamza finally ran outside with a lantern. lantern. Others followed him through the rain until they found the donkey near the edge of a village beside the old river path. Sultan was digging wildly into the mud, kicking, bearing, refusing to stop. People through the animals had finally gone completely insane. The Hamza noticed something. A hand burned under rocking wood and the mud. A cart had overturned during the storm, dragging a terrible into a flooded ditch. The man is unconscious and nearly burned alive. Sultan had found him. The villagers pulled the strange free just in time. If the donkey had not screamed, the man would have died before sunrise. The morning, the entire village talked about nothing else. The crazy donkey saved a life. For the first ever, people laughed about the Sultan with affection instead of the cruelty. But the donkey himself did not seem to care. He still walked the same lonely route every day. Markwell, Old Farm Road, home, always searching. The spring arrived. One afternoon, a little girl named Amina approached Sultan while he rested under the tree. Everyone pinkered because Sultan hated stranger, but Amina was different. He sat beside him silently, holding half an apple. No fear, no testing, no shouting. The donkey started at her for a long time. Then slowly, carefully, he took the apple from her hand. They changed everything. Amina began visiting him daily. She talked non-stop about school, birds, annoying cousins, dream of leaving the village someday. Sultan listened the same way he once listened to Karim. Sometimes the donkey followed her home, sometimes he cried her books, sometimes he randomly run into the fancy for the absolutely no reason because he was still Sultan. But slowly life to his eyes, the villager noticed the strange thing. Whenever Amina cried, Sultan appeared always.